Hello and welcome to Nerds of the Old Republic, the show where we drink things and we talk nerdy fiction or nerdy intellectual properties. I'm Adam.
I am Shaun.
And I'm Mike.
Wow, I like that inflection tonight. Are you okay?
I was trying not to crunch too loud with the piece of bread. I'm sorry if you got my ASMR again.
Yeah, I've been getting a lot of feedback about the ASMR, so on point, we picked two snacks that are crunchy as fuck, so sorry if earworms are a problem for you, dear
We
listener.
like to play a little game where we have the audience guess what we're eating, and then at the end we reveal.
Ooh, that's a great idea.
We should do that.
Hit
What's
us up
in my
on the
mouth?
socials, yeah. What's in my mouth?
Yeah, we could name it that.
We will now chew for the next 30 seconds uninterrupted.
Oh my god.
This sounds like some Scandinavian TV. Right? Like slow TV, slow audio.
I like it. I think we're like pioneers in a new realm here.
That's right.
We can really make this work.
It's a good way to check your speakers at home, too.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Or like fine tune your spatial audio if you
my
have
God.
spatial audio. God bless you.
Put it on surround sound.
Listen to us on that. But, well, oh boy. So we should probably just move on before we lose everybody. We are here tonight back with a book, and it is one that I've been meaning to get to for a long time. It is Douglas Adams' The Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. One that I used to make references to all the time, not knowing why the number 42 is important. So I know, right? Like, Shaun's eyebrow went straight up.
Yeah.
So, maybe perhaps I shouldn't have done that. But we're going to get to that. If you've never listened to us, we always do a beverage, some snack, and the literature. But before we get to that, we got to give some shout outs. So I'm going to toss it to Shaun real quick for our first shout out of the night.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah.
I mean, let the Bills make me want to shout. And
Indeed. Put your hands up and shout.
Yeah, at this point, we're doing much better than analyst forecasts. And I think this episode will come out in a week or so. So where are we sitting at? 9-2 at the bye. So
9-2.
Yep.
Doing pretty damn good. Just dethroned Pat Mahomes.
It was supposed to be, what's interesting is it was supposed to be a rebuilding year.
Yeah.
And we are sitting here with our best start to a season since 1992.
I'd say it's a rebuilt year.
We rebuilt. I like what you did there.
Nice.
Yeah. There was a quick turnaround on that one.
Yeah.
But,
Fun with words.
Yeah. I've had the honor and the pleasure of participating in another podcast. I've been cheating on you guys, actually, and it's been fun.
I saw the lipstick on your collar, you son of a bitch.
Yeah.
Saw it.
It was actually pizza sauce.
I'm all right. I'm the
Makes
cool
sense.
one in this relationship.
You're-
You're kind of an open thing.
You're open with it. That's
You're
good. Yeah.
polyamorous. All right.
Thank you. I appreciate
I'm a
it.
committed one person, one man.
Adam, you gotta get over it, man. It was a blast. I had a great time. I was hanging out with the Za Bills guys. What's that?
You said had a great time.
Oh,
It's already moved on. I'm not all right with that, man. I'm
Fine.
going to go so far.
You go talk about your Za Bills friends.
Pardon my verbiage, but...
Do you love them? Is that what it is?
We haven't even had a drop of beer yet.
Nope, it's going to be a fun night, gents.
Yes, it is. Buckle up.
It's going to get real dark and somber once we do have the alcohol.
Oh, yeah. We
Our
all turn
first
into our Irish fathers.
Oh,
So
true.
I was having a really good time with Kyle and Shaun and Dennis and the gang there. You guys are awesome. Appreciate you for having me on, and it was just great to talk about an awesome team with them and have some slices of pizza. Get a couple episodes with them. So if you get a chance, check out Za Bills. They are on everywhere you get a podcast. They've got shorts on YouTube. You can't miss them. And if you're looking for recommendations on pizza in the area, they've got some really good head-to-head matchups in local pizzerias, and then
Well,
talk
let me know
about the
if
Bills.
they do Nino's in West Seneca, because that place has broken my heart for so many years now.
All right.
It was one of the great ones in Western New York, and it's crashed and burned. And I'd be curious to see what aficionados like Za Bills have to say about
I don't know if they've done Nina's in West Seneca, but Kyle, I know you listen, so check it out and see if you guys need some West Seneca pizzas. Are there any others in that area that you would recommend?
Edie's in Hamburg, for sure. Now you put the pressure on. There's a place in Hamburg whose name's escaping me in Hamburg Village. It's been there for a while. I can't remember.
Okay.
I don't want to take up airtime.
All right, well,
Right.
fine. And it was Nino's?
Nino's, N-I-N-O. There's two locations. Okay. There's one in Hamburg, and there's one in West Seneca. West Seneca used to be the good one, and then I don't know what happened. About 3 or 4 years ago, they fell off a cliff, and it's been personally devastating.
So if you're looking for a mediocre pizza,
there you go.
But check out Za Bills, guys, for sure.
Yeah, not a mediocre podcast.
No, very good podcast.
The other shout out we want to give out tonight is us. For us.
Yeah.
That's right. It's our podcast. We're going to do this. No, but seriously, we've recently partnered up with bookshop.org to have an affiliate link out there. So on our podcast episodes, if you click the show notes and you find our link, anything you purchase through the show notes there will send 15% over to our way, which, would be greatly appreciated. It's something you were going to do anyways if you're on this podcast. You're buying books. And the other nice thing about it is bookshop.org buys their books from a local bookstore near you. So you actually select where in your community the books come from.
That sounds like a win-win, Adam.
It really is. And I have Mike to thank for that, actually. Yep. He showed me bookshop.org.
And also a percentage of every book sale gets donated back into a pool, which is then donated out to indie bookstores around the country.
That's
and when you go to the website, they actually have a number there somewhere that shows you the amount of money that they've raised from book sales for indie bookstores, which is, amazing.
Yeah, definitely.
Completely unaffiliated plug here, but definitely Nerds Nation, get out there and patronize your local bookstores and your libraries and keep these places open and going because they are wonderful, magical places to be. And expose your kids to them. I hope I got that correctly. But
expose your kids to them.
Yeah, definitely get out to those local bookstores and libraries for sure.
Yep, for sure. And, timing this episode, we usually try to stay evergreen, but we're coming up on Shop Small, right? Shop Local after Black Friday. So keep that in mind when you shop. If you don't have a holiday coming up, no excuse. You're shopping at some point for a book. You're here. So, right? Consider it. You can find our book list on bookshop.org. I've added the books that we've listened to for the past, how many episodes, guys? How many episodes do you think?
50 plus, right?
50 plus.
Damn.
Yeah. We are nearing on 60.
It's amazing.
So There's a lot of books there. I'm not saying we liked them all. Looking at you, N.K. Jemison. But
that take will never get cold.
No, but you know what? She's got a Nebula Award and I don't. So
that's a good point.
She can handle it. Yeah. That's right.
And then some just, I'm open to any fan suggestions if people want to see books on the book list, that sort of thing. Been watching the awards because this is award season for literature too. So I've been throwing some stuff up there.
Cool.
So check us out. It'd be awesome to help us, pay for the cast a little bit. We don't mind, but it does cost a little bit every month. So be a huge help.
Are we on any social media at this point?
That's a great question and so timely because we were just talking about social medias and how it's the end of the era for certain things. I was not sure how I wanted to say that. We are on all the socials, including vaguely Blue Sky. We've dabbled with it, but we're not sure, if it's worth our time, to be honest. We know that X isn't really worth our time. So we have an account, haven't posted in a while because...
No, it was very active there for about a year.
It was fantastic.
And then something changed. What was that? It wasn't quite as fun anymore.
Yeah.
I feel like somebody bought it as their plaything to be like a really radical mouthpiece for their views.
That sounds right.
Yeah. And apparently we're not their views.
We did try Blue Sky for a bit, but we gotta figure out how to get a foot in the door there.
Mm-hmm. Maybe that's what we need to do. Seems to be the thing. Let's just start our own social media.
There you go.
Call it Nerd Talk or something like that.
Ooh, talk nerdy to me.
Yeah. Ooh, I like it.
That sounds like an AI chatbot that you call when you're really lonely on a Friday night.
That's another great idea. Patent pending.
Hello. Welcome to 1-900 Talk Nerdy to Me.
It all sounds like
what
HAL
are your
9000.
preferences? Please, tell me, are you into sci-fi or Tolkien? Do you like orcs or sadistic robots?
Good evening, Adam. Would you like me to generate some robot hentai for you?
Oh my God,
I said great. Wizard, not robot. Well, you know what? I'll learn how to code a large language model AI chatbot for this.
Yeah, get on that. You got one
What
week.
else am I doing? What else am I doing with my life?
Yeah, exactly.
Right? But in all seriousness, let's get to the book for tonight.
Yeah,
wait, we got
a beer for tonight.
Yeah, come on, man. We got a
it's
drink.
literally propped up behind my microphone here. So if you've never listened, cool, welcome. Nice to have you. We usually start with a beverage. Sometimes it's fancy, sometimes it's a cocktail. Tonight it's beers.
Thank you, sir.
White or blue?
Well, I'll take a blue, please.
It's the same beer. It's just
I know. Which one do I like better?
It tastes better on a blue can.
Mike, so sometimes we do this thing where Shaun does the tasting notes in Shaun's announcer voice. Tonight we've agreed that we're all going to duel with our tasting notes because we've each brought a different beer. So we're going to start with Mike's, which conveniently has no tasting notes.
No tasting notes.
Well, just read the can.
Please stand still for a moment of silence. Oh, there are literally no tasting notes on here. I can give you some other interesting little factoids. This comes from our own local Resurgence Brewing Company. This is 4.4 ABV, which is not too bad at all for those of us who have to drive home. Oh, can I see one thing real quick? Oh, they're both light. I got curious because it comes in a white can and a blue can, and I noticed the white can says "Light the Lamp," Lite. So I wondered if maybe blue was like not the light beer, but they're all light beers. And of course, I picked this because I am very much looking forward to the Sabres finally going over 500 tonight, which I'm just gonna. Go ahead and assume that they will do. And these cans are beautifully decorated with the Buffalo Sabres logo. So I couldn't say no.
It's my favorite kind of beer, too.
Yeah.
There were far tastier looking beers in the store, but I couldn't resist the Sabres logo.
Ready? 1, 2, 3. Beautiful.
It opens nicely.
Yeah. Lager, by the way. I should add that.
Yeah. So if this is your first time tuning in, you wouldn't know that Mike and I like a huge variety of beer. A lot of IPAs, sours, flavored stouts, that sort of thing.
Yeah.
So Shaun always...
No, please proceed.
Shaun always is forced to taste beer that we know he doesn't like. Like, we just buy styles that we know are not his thing.
But the best thing is that Shaun buys them half the time. So,
Well, I'm trying to make sure you guys are happy.
You're a class act, my friend.
I see why you uh-oh'd. I presumed that this was a lager.
Oh no, it's
a Buffalo style IPA.
Yeah.
You got that's what's different. The blues are Buffalo style IPAs and the whites are lagers.
Oh, I got it. All right.
They do. And
you want to switch back?
Oh, yeah, there you go.
You don't mind, do you?
No, not at all.
I don't have cooties.
All right, now we're solved. Shaun's happy.
He made that face, and I'm like, "What? This tastes great. It's like a Labatt Blue."
Yeah, it's a tall Labatt Blue.
Let's try that again.
No.
Might be taste shock going right from the IPA.
Oh, man, that's much better. Oh, that's
more cheers, man.
Thank you.
Cheers, gents. That's a mystery sauce.
All right, so the blue says IPA on it.
Yeah.
There you go.
I thought they were all IPAs, and I'm like, were you yanking my chain earlier?
Oh, no. I just looked at the white can. It said lager.
And I should have realized, because you're like, oh, it's a 4 point something. I looked down at my can, like, no, it's a 6.5.
Oh, dude.
But
see them.
I didn't want to interrupt the flow, and I just figured we'd get it in post, and, Shaun would go in and be like, 6.5.
But Mike,
I edit nothing.
Yeah, no, you edit actually a lot. We make you edit a lot of random asides.
I know. I got to find out a way to drown out the sound of the dehumidifier. I forgot to turn off.
That's awesome.
That's right.
So, I can't take credit for this, but I enjoy how this has turned into sort of a mystery box thing here on the podcast. What is this beer? Who's got what?
Who's touching me where?
Again.
You'll never see it.
What's in my mouth? Right? We're back to it.
Let's get a real quick aside, because this is a Buffalo thing while we're drinking a Buffalo beer.
Really good. I like that.
I feel like, do you guys remember the heyday of Tom Brady basically bending us over twice a year every year?
No, what are you talking about?
This out. Anywho, I feel like our fan base, otherwise known as the Bills Mafia, did a really good job of making light of those situations by throwing colorful objects onto the field.
Yes.
We're not safe for work. You could say it.
Well, I'm trying to paint a picture for the audience who might not be familiar. And I really enjoyed when these objects would land on the field and the players would interact with them and the refs would smile and laugh. And I think we need to bring that back. I think we need to have the Mahomes dildos. Wow. I need to start throwing Mahomes dildo on the field. I really think that should be a thing because he's such a whiny crybaby. Maybe he just needs something to suck on the sideline.
Wow. I will tell you, not related to dildos, that
just stop right there, man.
So my 9-year-old was chanting that goodbye, Mahomes, I hope you cry. Like, I'm looking forward to seeing you cry at your coach and in the press conference. He made it rhyme, and it was much better than that, but that was the gist of his rhyme, and that was his chant.
This kid's metal. I love it.
Yeah. Dude's way more metal than I ever am, let alone was at 9, so.
That's sweet, dude.
Well, to go back, to return to dildos, if I may.
Yeah.
There's never enough time for dildos. Let's be real.
No.
I was going to say, we're always talking about how we can increase our listenership, and I think you may have just hit upon it. We throw a dildo onto the football field,
a branded
that
dildo.
says "Nerds of the Old Republic"
Ooh,
right
with a QR code on
and
the dildo.
I bet a few people would investigate
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
and
like
then be
this.
very disappointed.
Just like the real act of sex.
This is, yeah, that's fair too. That's why I got to get that 1-900 chatbot up.
Oh
Because
my
we could
God.
link to the
Yeah.
chatbot, and if nothing else, that would fund.
Right.
You know,
Guys, I think this podcast
Yes.
has run its course anyway. Honestly,
you already left us for another cast.
We already bought the mega yacht. I mean, now it's time to get into other, capital ventures. I
Yeah.
think it's
Yeah.
time. Sex toys and sex pots.
I
That's
agree.
where it's at.
I think that is the logical next step for
Yeah.
a science fiction podcast.
Absolutely.
Truly.
Nerdy sex toys.
We really
Yes.
should have came up with this after Ex Machina.
All
But
right.
yes, check out our back catalog. We've got some
Yeah.
really interesting
Yes, we do.
episodes.
I
like
get a
Ex
sex
Machina.
bot that looks like Alicia Vikander. I'm all about it.
Well, yeah, and that's what everybody thought in that movie too, until she grabbed the knife. So,
Yeah, shink the
You know.
dude.
yep.
Reminded us all to respect our
Sex working bots.
Yes.
Sex workers work too.
That's right. Especially for robots.
Well, so do you want to transition to the book then, I guess?
I think it's
Yeah.
time.
Yeah. So, Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, Douglas Adams. I actually have the 42nd anniversary edition.
Wow.
Just by happenstance, it actually was in my classroom library. So
That
I
is
had
a
this-
beautiful copy compared to this
Yours is just
very
well
old
loved.
school copy that
That's
I have
all.
here.
I wish I had my library copy still.
Yeah. So oftentimes we talk about like our first interactions with the book, our first time hearing it. So, I will readily admit that like I was aware of this book. I was reminded of the book when that movie came out, the movie version of it. I didn't see the movie version.
It was like 06 or something.
Yeah,
05,
it was early. But I never got around to reading it, and I can't really tell you why, except for I just never did. Maybe it's because I thought it was going to be too much like Spaceballs, and so I was, a serious student of literature
Of course.
and avoided it, but just my own hubris more than anything. How about you guys?
I have a very similar track with it, actually, Adam. This is my first time reading it.
Wow.
And I was aware of it mostly because of the movie and then the cult popular stuff that I saw about it around that time, which is odd because, again, as a non-serious student of sci-fi and fantasy, you would think I would have come across this at some point, and I never really did.
No.
So first time for everything.
Well, I have the opposite experience. I read this for the first time, and it would have been late elementary or early middle school. And I thought it was the fucking greatest thing I've ever read. And I've read it. I have not read it in years, but over the years, I've read it many, many times. At some point in there, I read the whole series because there's 4 or 5 more of them. And it's diminishing returns. It's one of those things where it's like, if you enjoy it, it's worth, going on. There's still some laughs to be had. There's still good fun, but none of them rise to the quality of the first one, I don't think.
Really?
But it's been a personal favorite for a long time.
Cool. So I'm already sensing you can't see this because we don't record the visual.
I wear my heart on my
Long-time
sleeve.
listeners can guess.
Yes, where this is going. But so let me lay out the premise, and then we can kind of have a conversation. I'm thinking about like how this fits in compared to other sci-fi. Is this a satire or is it trying to be its own thing? It's kind of what I'm thinking for tonight. But the premise essentially is that poor Arthur is an oblivious human being. So I associate with Arthur very much so. And he finds out essentially that his house is going to be bulldozed one morning to make way for a bypass. We can tell he's in England because of, pub and all the other uses of the words. And then in the span of like the next 5 pages, he finds out that his best friend is an alien. It's vital to drink alcohol before making jumps into hyperspace. Space travel, yep. And Earth is blown up before chapter 2, I believe, if I remember right. And thus starts the hijinks and the traveling of Arthur and Ford Prefect.
Ford Prefect.
Prefect, yeah. Shaun is visibly groaning over there. Now,
I'm audibly groaning when I'm trying to restrain it.
Is it my pronunciation of the words? Because I can do worse.
No, hearing them out loud just makes it even more trite.
Oh, so let's start with the satire question, because this one is widely considered satire of Star Trek. Probably not Star Wars, because it doesn't have it kind of has the Sage and Ford, Ford leads Arthur through like what it means to travel in space and hitchhike and aliens and that sort of thing. But he's not quite the sage figure, more as like a sarcastic figure. So I'm going to ask this one to Mike first.
Good idea.
Did you, when you read it, do you read it as a satire?
I don't. Satire to me implies like mockery and something more negative. I would read this, or have always read this, as more parody.
Okay.
And not necessarily of Star Trek, but of just space opera, like in general. It's a very, very English humor.
Yeah.
It definitely comes down in the line of, Monty Python. And if you are a fan of that kind of humor, that's what this is. And it's so no, I don't see it as satire. I don't think it's like skewering or trying to take down the genre as much as it's sort of lovingly parodying the genre.
Yeah, I could see that. And maybe we're winning. I'm going to try to help win Shaun over for a little bit because, I enjoyed the book. I'm just going to put it out there earlier than I normally do. I don't know so British humor sometimes escapes me.
Yeah.
To be honest, despite having a lot of awesome family over there. Hey, everybody, I know you listen. I can see on the map of the data we get. I've had 4 sips of beer.
Stata works.
Stata. But, sometimes the humor is a little too dry for me. And maybe in my, I'm very self-conscious about the speed I read things at. So sometimes I intentionally, read faster than I normally would to try to, get stuff done. Because I'm also really bad at timing things. So, sometimes the humor was, hit or miss for me. But, the first scene when we see them on the Vogon, is that the right one? The first ship that they hitchhiked on?
Yes, the Vogon Destructor Fleet.
Yeah, and they're ready to be thrown out the airlock, and they're having that conversation do you really enjoy your job? That one hit home with me.
Yeah.
I was also reading it at work, so maybe that changes things too, But yeah, I could see that, the parody aspect instead of satire, because it is hard to see where it tries to cut at a kumbaya sort of universe where multiple civilizations agree to one organized government, more or less, in the Space Federation sort of thing. Shaun, what's your take on the whole thing?
I did not like it.
I will not read it in a car. I will not read it very far.
Honestly, if I would have read this in 5th or 6th grade, I think it probably would have hit differently for me. Mm-hmm. But like you, Adam, I am not a connoisseur of British humor. I appreciate some of Monty Python, but for everything that they do that hits, there's 10 that miss. I think that droll, dry, self-deprecating British way of seeing it, just, I don't know. I just don't. I'm not a person that is intended for, right? And I get that. So when I read this book, I don't know, how much do you want to get into it? Just a general blush right now, or do you want me to just unload?
I think we're to the unload phase of the night.
Okay. The fucking names. Bro, it's it's supposed to sound like an alien. I know what I'll do. I'll just put a bunch of letters together and that'll make Beeblebrox. It's
my entire family over in England just stopped listening.
I'm going to encourage them to hang on.
No, yeah, I am not apologizing to that.
Will be counterpoints, I'm sure.
Stay on the line.
Okay,
Andrew,
so Zaphod, Beeblebrox, and all, it's all just so kiddie bullshit to me. And then I again, it's not for me. I'm the Dune guy. I'm the guy who reads oh my God, I feel do I need to get a haircut after reading this? Because I feel like my life has changed and I should represent myself differently.
Do I need to get a haircut after this?
I was trying to not slip my wrist or something, but something a little less crazy than that. But this one, it's just, I found it too cutesy. I get it. Again, I think it's more intended for a younger audience.
For sure.
Absolutely. Yeah. And I think that's probably the miss. For you and Ghostbusters, same thing. It didn't hit you at the right time in your life.
Right. And I said that was the risk with this book.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
At the end of last cast, when, I've often wondered if even I am a guy who worships Monty Python's Flying Circus, but it's because I've been watching the movies and the show since I was a teenager. And would I come back to it and discover it now for the first time and find it as funny? How much of it is the nostalgia because it's always been there.
Right.
And that's why I asked that whole question at the beginning, like, what's our experience? Because oftentimes we pick books that we loved.
I mean, there's whole lines in this book that I can remember reading as a kid that I think are fucking hilarious, and I'll just use randomly in conversation. I underlined a few, like, the guy who operates the bulldozer. You can't lie in front of the bulldozer indefinitely. He tried to make his eyes blaze fiercely, but they just wouldn't do it. Like, that's fucking awesome to me. Like, that's something people say in books. Like, his eyes blaze fiercely. So here's a guy who's trying to make his eyes blaze fiercely. The line he says a page earlier or a page after where I can't find it here, but he's like, do you know how much damage it would cause this bulldozer if I had to roll right over you? And Arthur's like, no, how much? And he goes, none at all. Or the ship hung in the air the way bricks don't. That shit was fucking hilarious to me as a 12.
But that's the thing. It's that subverting what you expect him to say and going in like some obvious opposite direction, which is exactly what Monty Python is. It's like, this parrot is dead, like that shtick.
Right.
And for me, it was like,
if you're about to disparage the dead parrot sketch, then we're gonna come to blows. We're gonna have to pause the recording because there's gonna be a fight, and I guarantee the listeners at home will be better than Tyson versus Paul.
You know what?
I wouldn't be pulling my punches.
I'm just gonna play the Monty Python. No, that's Benny Hill. Sorry, Benny Hill.
Oh yeah, that's Yakety Sax.
Yeah, right. As we like fight in the background, Scooby Doo run in and out of like Shaun's basement.
That'd be hilarious. We should be on YouTube.
I do. You know what? I get both. As I read this, and I was just looking through the book to see, because, sometimes they're like, for grades or reading level or whatever, but it's not like a Scholastic or something. So Del Rey isn't going to tell you like, hey, this is for 5th graders or something. And audience, I will point out that Mike was reading H.P. Lovecraft well before I think I could pronounce Lovecraft. So, that might also change what actual grade it's aimed at or age it's aimed at. But, I do get that. And I think I kept that in mind as I was reading. I kept thinking like, would my youngest son like this?
But I tried to like, almost like listen to you guys in my head and be like, well, just relax, man. Just let it be what it is and not like overthink it. But I couldn't turn that part off.
Don't panic.
It's like I saw behind the veil and I just saw the author sitting there chuckling to himself as like, he's like trying to get off one-liners in every line. And I'm
rightfully
like,
so.
Yeah. And I'm just like, it was a radio drama. It wasn't even intended really to be this piece. It just sort of came that way or became that. I read the foreword, like the whole thing about it, like the history of it. And I understand that. To me, it didn't land as like this revered piece of sci-fi history or whatever that people hold up on this pedestal. Like, oh my God, this is incredible. This is like one of the Mount Rushmores of sci-fi or something. Like, I don't see it. Like I said, part of it is reading it for the first time at age 42, I'm sure. Part of it is the British humor thing. 43.
Oh, that's right.
Hey.
That's right. Sometimes I forget how old you are.
I am the elder statesman.
No wonder you're sowing your wild oats while you still can with other cats.
Yeah. Honestly, he's concerned he's not going to be able to do that.
Time is short, boys.
But number one is when you come to it for the first time, for sure. Number two is the British humor thing is not for everybody. Monty Python is either the funniest thing or just a head scratcher to people, just like Mel Brooks, just like a lot of types of comedy. It's, you get it, it's your thing, or you don't appreciate it. So that's definitely part of it as well.
I love Meaning of Life. Like, that's one of my favorite Monty Python things. But you're not a fan of that one?
Oh, I'm a fan of all of it.
So, like, but I saw it when I was in 8th grade.
Yeah.
And I think that's that sophomoric, like, that's perfect for a pubescent boy and all the, the silliness and the droll humor and all that. It hits really well when you're at that point. I guess, not that I want something sophisticated, not that I don't laugh at, like, pratfalls and like silly one-liners and jokes like that, but to me it was almost like forced. And I could not get it away from my mind that it's not like happening naturally in the narrative. It's just like he's pushing him in every single nook and cranny, like all these little side notes and story things about this and about that and the fish and like the robot and it's like, all right, dude, just let the fucking thing breathe and play out.
It's funny that is how you read it, because to me it reads like the most natural thing in the world. I probably because I've been sitting with it for 30 years. You know,
it could be.
Yeah, well, it could be. Yeah.
I mean, some of this stuff is just fucking. It's classic to me. It's fucking classic. Like when the fucking Vogon has him on the bridge of the ship, and the punishment that's to be doled out is that they have to listen to his poetry, and then that fucking poem that he reads is great. Arthur's attempts to like English teacher the thing, you know, I thought some of the literary devices were particularly effective, and then the Vogon's like almost wanting to believe that at the end. He's like, "Are you saying that beneath my cold, hard exterior, I just want to be loved?" And they're like, "Yes," and they're like, "Throw him off the ship," you know, like I mean that's a fucking classic scene. I could just go on and on. They're fucking great bits.
It did read very Mel Brooks to me, or very, you know. And I think, so for me, a lot of the humor from Mel Brooks and Monty Python comes from the difference between the words and the image.
Yeah.
You know, so, you know, you've got the Holy Hand Grenade. I know it's not like Brian, but right, like, so they're like marching through the Holy, and if you just listen to the audio, so for me, that's the equivalent of like reading the book. I don't always picture it very well. You know, sometimes, like I said, maybe I'm reading too fast or something. So I think, like, maybe I'll go back and watch the movie, and maybe the movie plays out better for me than the book
Hitchhiker,
does.
the movie?
Yeah. Hitchhiker.
See, I enjoy it, but it's not great. It's one of those things where it's almost a guilty pleasure. Like I already know the jokes.
Yeah.
So I'm able to appreciate seeing them on screen, but overall I think the movie didn't capture the tone of the book very well. The one thing the movie did fucking brilliantly, it's one of the most ingenious casting choices I've ever seen, is forgetting the guy's name.
Rickman.
But yes, Alan Rickman as Marvin, the paranoid android. It is so spot on. It's unbelievable. When you hear that voice come out of the robot and say some of the like, Marvin, we need you to go down and get, just that. I won't enjoy it. In Alan Rickman's voice, like, it's fucking genius.
I've got so many circuits in my brain that I can do like 42 other things right now.
Brain the size of a planet. They
that's the exact line. Brain the size of a planet, but you want me to go march them down.
Oh, man. And then at the end, they escape because the police ship that's trying to imprison them commits suicide because Marvin's talking to it about himself. You know, I don't know. You used the word like dry and droll before, and you meant them as insults, but they're like dead on words, and I think that's what makes it great. Like, I love the dryness of it.
Not to say there wasn't anything that landed. Occasionally, like some of that stuff, I was like, I'd chuckle a little bit, but for the most part, I was rolling my eyes most of the time. It was just, again, I just don't. Maybe I wasn't in the right mindset either. I mean, it was not the greatest time in the world to be reading something light and airy and fun, and I probably missed a lot because of my general mental state. I'm sure that had a lot to do with it.
Yeah.
But I just
have like, because you felt guilty because you were, you know, out fooling around while me and Adam were home planning the podcast,
taking care of this thing we've made together.
That's right. We worked hard, man.
I feel
do you know
shame.
What I do on a daily basis for this podcast? Because it's almost literally nothing.
It's funny you mentioned Alan Rickman too, because he was in the cast of seriously.
Yeah,
the guy was typecast as that like very dolorous kind of guy. But he was one of the cast members of Galaxy Quest. And he played a very similar kind of like, he was an actor who was just pissed about his lot in life and was very down. And it's just, that's that guy. That's what he is. But wasn't he the bad guy in Die Hard?
Oh, I don't know about that. But
no, he was Severus Snape in Harry Potter.
Oh, yeah. He's like
Snape. Who was Snape?
I forget.
Severus
was he the bad guy in Die Hard?
Yes, he was. Yeah. And the first time.
Yeah, right? Man, he was goddamn great.
Is he the one that like falls off the skyscraper at the end? Was that him?
Yeah. He was so good as that villain.
He's in a great movie about the emergence of California wine country called Bottle Shock. And he plays the English guy who's obsessed with French wine, who discovers American wine and has their bottles entered in. It's based on a true story. California bottles. It was a blind tasting. They won. The French were horrified in retrospect, but that's what was like the emergence. Anyways, it's the guy the actor who plays Chris Pine, who plays Kirk in Star Trek, is in that movie too.
Wow. We're playing like 6 degrees here.
Bill Pullman, yeah.
Here's the thing, though. I'd much rather discuss that and the career of Alan Rickman than I would Galaxy or what is this? Hitchhiker's Guide.
Let's do it this way. You said there were a few parts that that you chuckled at? What were some of those parts? Let's go at it.
I can't even remember my point.
Blacking out here intentionally.
Or maybe I can throw some parts out there, and then you can
nothing that involved any stupid names. So none of the Zaphod Beeblebrox. God, that just pissed me off. Every time I read it, I cringed. I could see my skin like rippling along my body as I'm like, Beeblebrox.
I will say, I think we know my history with names. Looking back at like Shixin Lu and like
You're nailing it now.
You've gotten really good at that, man.
I literally say it in my sleep. I'm pretty sure my wife is like, "Who's this Lu?"
Adam
woman?
counts Shixin Lus to fall asleep.
1 Shixin Lu, 2 Shixin Lu, 3 Shixin Lu. But anyways, like the names did fuck with me a lot.
Yeah,
because like Arthur got it, Ford nailed it, Zaphod maybe. Am I saying that right? I don't know.
That's how I say it.
Vogon.
It's just again. It was like a kid at a Chromebook, like trying to write like a short fiction for my class and like half-assed it and being like, I don't know, something that sounds alien. That.
So how would you explain then the fact that the book has been so revered and appreciated for so long? There must be like something.
Alcohol.
But many people read it at the same age that Mike did.
I know. I think
that's a huge part of it for I mean, honestly, like when you come to a thing is going to be, for example, one of my favorite things to quote of all time is random Family Guy episodes, right? But like that's because we used to watch that shit in college.
Right.
If I discovered Family Guy right now at age 42 as a suburban dad, you know what I mean? I'd be like, this show's fucking stupid. Like, I wouldn't find it that funny. You know what I mean? Yeah. So that's a huge part of it. Definitely is.
That to me explains it. I just skipped that. I skipped that lesson in the young nerddom, like, as I was growing up, and I just never read it.
Yeah.
Someone was reading Tolkien.
Yeah. That was more my jam.
Talk about dork.
Well, I mean,
I guess. I was going to talk about orcs.
Yes! First spell
of the night.
I guess when it comes down to it, I like more serious literature. I'm not.
Oh,
I do. I really do.
Get off my lawn.
I know.
Kids.
No, please. And I'm not trying to be a dick about it.
Yeah, no, I get you.
And maybe it's hard for me to come to grips with it as a student of literature, but I don't really find comedies that entertaining.
How many times have we quoted endlessly Mel Brooks movies?
No. I'm not saying that. I'm saying comical literature.
Oh, okay. All right. Well, it is different.
True.
Yeah,
that's theater. Also, same thing with theater. Like, I love films.
Yeah,
I love comedies as a film, and especially ones I saw when I was younger. Like you said, like if I watched like like Airplane now, I'd be like, oh, it's okay. You know, I don't know if I would like sit there and like fawning over it.
Right.
But
it's a fair point. If you go home and look at my bookshelf, it's a lot of really grim, very dark, very heavy, serious literature. Yeah. And this is definitely an exception, to that.
And I've always gravitated more towards the more serious stories. And the lightest thing I ever read was some of the EU Star Wars stuff, which had a little comic relief, but it wasn't like I was reading it for the comedy.
Right.
So I just have like I'm typecast myself like Alan Rickman.
Well, we all have our nerddoms that we like to stay in. So like I prefer like the sci-fi to like the heavy fantasy. Mm-hmm. It's the names again. It's all about the names. Everyone's got 32 names and there's 107 characters in every Tolkien book. But anyways, so I get that, right? Yeah. Like this, maybe I'm more open to it because like the sci-fi and like a little bit of light humor is a little bit more my jam. But I get what you're saying too, because like when I went to college for literature and for education, I received the message that to be a good student was to read the biggest, hardest book you could. And this is not that. It doesn't even try to be that. It intentionally is the opposite of that.
You could read it in an afternoon.
Yeah.
I intentionally didn't read those biggest, hardest books because I didn't want to do it. You know what I mean? Like
I was like, in order to prove my smarts here, I need to pick up Infinite Jest and finish it.
I skimmed Chaucer so much that I was I barely even remember any of it.
Chaucer's fucking brutal.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Wayne and the Green Knights.
Oh dear Lord! My teacher made us read it in Old English, which was just ridiculous. But or it made us like out loud, like we had to. Like,
oh God,
yeah, we had to do that too, and that is a fucking different language right there.
And I was taking German at the time. You think I'd be able to handle it, but.
I've told classes before. I've been teaching Macbeth, and I'm like, "You guys think this is hard? Let's get out some old English sometime."
Yeah. This is early modern English. English.
I've actually
Yeah.
done that. I pulled out my Riverside Chaucer and I read a page to them there. I'm like, you think Shakespeare's bad? And I read that and they're like, what is that? And I'm like, that's English.
Yep.
Yeah.
That's our language.
But maybe you hit on something there because again, I'm like a old school Star Trek fan and that kind of like, Asimov and Arthur C. Clarke and all these like the pillars of sci-fi, but they're more serious. And something like this, especially as it comes along to me now and not as a child, I'm looking at it and being like, it's kind of like throwing shade on some of my boys here, they come at my boys.
You're coming at my man all wrong.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And I felt like the naming conventions and that, like, yeah, I get it. They're silly and all those other things too, but they're done with almost like not a reverence, but more of like a respect for what they're doing. Whereas this was more of like, fuck it. It's a name. It's supposed to sound silly.
I think that's what parody is.
Exactly. Well, yeah, but see, that's the thing. Maybe I just didn't appreciate the parody because
parody.
it hit too much on something that I.
But you like Spaceballs.
Yeah.
That's
weird.
But Spaceballs is not a book.
That's true.
That's true.
Say,
and it is a Mel Brooks. And I did see it first when I was a kid.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
And we contain multitudes.
That's right.
Oh,
that's right. We all contain contradictions. We're complex beings.
I know there's at least one of our loyal listeners who's going to think less of me now because of this take on this book. But
between that and the entire my side of the English family that is not listening anymore, please, Andrew, come back, please.
Sorry, Adam.
Like I said,
that's not that Adam. Sorry, just sorry, other Adam.
Other Adam.
Yeah, friend of the cast, Adam. I know you were looking forward to this, but man, it didn't land for me.
As far as in-house, I don't think less of you for this, and there'll be no fisticuffs.
On Mike.
As long as we don't start disparaging Monty Python, our friendship can withstand this.
That's the bridge that we'll cross.
That is the line that
there's
is
enough,
in the sand, my friend.
There's enough visual pun in Monty Python that I still look at it pretty fondly.
Monty Python is something that, unlike this book, which is very much, it's adolescent. It's for a younger crowd. Monty Python is something that, if you go back and watch the old Flying Circus or the movies, like there's a lot of very complex humor.
Oh yeah.
They reference a lot of philosophy and history and
they go on rants about Kant and stuff.
Exactly. That's exactly right. I mean, one of my favorite Flying Circus bits is Summarize Proust. It's a game show. Marcel Proust wrote like the longest, most complex novels in history, and like the challenges of this game show, they have to go on and summarize the entirety of In Search of Lost Time in 30 seconds. Yeah. Anyways, so it's a combination of the high and low, and therefore as an adult, there's still a lot to appreciate in it.
I still maintain that The Meaning of Life is one of their best. I put it above the King Arthur one. What is it? Holy Grail?
Holy Grail.
Yeah, I put it above that just because of the message and everything. I think is a lot cooler.
Life of Brian, another great one.
Yeah, that's an excellent one.
Well, so I think we've come to the natural end of tonight's conversation with Hitchhiker's Guide. Could we say maybe yes for our younger nerds? Like this is how you get young nerds to grow up into
say yes. I'm going to say yes for everybody. I'm going to say, especially if you appreciate British humor, if you have an appreciation for that kind of humor, then no matter what age you are, you will like this. Maybe not fall in love with it the way you would have at age 12, but I think you'd still appreciate it. And if you don't like British humor, stay away from the book.
Yeah, that's fair. Yeah. If you want another notch in your sci-fi belt, right?
Yes.
This one you could do in a weekend.
It's a classic, and you can knock it out in an afternoon.
That's a good way to look at it, Adam. You could absolutely knock this one out and say you did it. Mm-hmm. And whether you love it or hate it, at least you have that as part of your reading canon for your sci-fi nerddom. And that's how I look at it now. Yeah.
Some of us like to have those intellectual pins on our sash. Mm-hmm. I'm very much a person like that who feels like I'm only accomplished if I do the things that everyone else says I should do.
I like to be well read, It is like a badge of honor to say that you've read something. I stand by that even to this day.
Yeah. You don't have to like it,
right,
to try it.
That's exactly right. That's what I tell people about all kinds of shit. You don't have to love Gatsby. Gatsby's not great because everybody loves it. Gatsby's great because it gives you some shit to think about. Right. A lot of people hate it, and I get it because I used to hate it in high school. I love it now, and that's another great thing about books is they change with your life, your age.
That's a great point.
I always say that to my students too. You don't have to love it, but you at least got to think about it.
Mm-hmm. Well, we're going to leave you on that note, dear listeners. As we wrap up tonight, I want to just remind you, check out our friends over at Zabills. Good people.
Give them a bell.
Give them a bell. Good people, good pizza, good Bills recaps. And also check out our bookshop.org link. You know, if you're doing some shopping for your family or friends or yourself, treat yourself. Come on now. It's been a rough season. It's been rough. Buy a book. And, 15% goes back to us, and that'd be a great way to support the cast for something you're already going to do anyway. So, we'd appreciate that. We'd appreciate any, reviews up to 5 stars you could give us anywhere you listen to us. That'd be awesome.
We accept only 5-star reviews.
I'm not sure how to respond to that, actually.
Isn't that what it already says? Only give us a 5-star review.
That's
if you don't give
says.
us 5 stars, then we're going to be coming to your house.
Yeah.
Well,
right.
I mean, for the record,
you don't want a bunch of nerds coming to your house angry.
Yeah, because what am I going to do? I'm going to quote real nerdy insults at you. You know what I'm going to do? I'm going to pretend I'm playing D&D, and I'm going to use Tasha's Hideous Laughter, which is a spell in the game where you literally create mental damage for your opponent by making fun of them.
Oh, you don't want that.
We are going to LARP all over your front yard.
That's right. Which, you know what? When I hear LARP, there's a video making fun of LARPers. I love you, dear LARPers. Don't think I'm making fun of you. But, someone's literally hitting another person with a pool noodle and just shouting, "Too magic! Too magic! Too magic!" Because there's, supposed to take that damage.
I don't even know what the fuck you guys are talking about.
We'll talk about it off camera.
Yeah, there you go. Cue the Benny Hill music. And on that note, we will see you next episode in a couple weeks where we're just going to talk the state of nerddom at the end of 2024. This is going to be pretty close to the end of the year, and we're going to wrap up. We've got some questions to discuss for each of us, and we're playing it kind of like a round table discussion. So until then, stay nerdy, and cheers.
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 Hello, and welcome. Damn it.
Keep it.
Let's try it again.